Hi guys, it's Chloe and welcome back to my channel. But today I'm going to be doing a read and react to an article that an individual with spina bifida had posted. So I'm going to get into the video. I first want to point out that everything of mine is solely based on my opinion and my opinion alone. I am not being influenced by anybody else. These are just my opinions. So for those of y'all that have been living under a rock, there is a girl out there. Her name is Leigha Sanderson and she is from Texas and she has spina bifida like I do. She was with JoJo Siwa's pop group called XOMG Pop. She was let go and she released an article in collaboration with Rolling Stone. In there, she talked about all the mistreatment. I don't have the actual Rolling Stone article because it's hidden behind a paywall and I don't want to pay for that kind of stuff. So I found another article for free that basically summarizes the whole thing. So I know what y'all are thinking. Number one is, who the heck is this chick? Number two, why is she qualified to talk about this? And number three, why did it take you so long to talk about it? And those are all phenomenal questions, so I'm going to get into it. So for those of y'all that have no idea who I am, hi, my name is Chloe Sitch, and I am an adult with spina bifida. Not the same type as Leigha, but I do have it. And my qualifications are A, I have spina bifida myself, but also B, in 2025, out of the 166,000 plus individuals with spina bifida, the Spina Bifida Association, they awarded me the Young Adult Advocate Award. Therefore, I feel qualified to talk about this. Not to say that other people may not be qualified, but those are just my qualifications. Now, the big question is, why did it take you so long to talk about this? So, great question. I don't know if Leigha's still doing it, but if she is doing it, but not her thing, I am also going to be in a documentary. The thing is that per my contracts, which are downstairs because we moved, per my contract, I'm not allowed to go on any movies or TV shows. And the thing is that if my photo, video, or audio are used on TV or movie without my permission, I could get in trouble because it's a breach of contract. But I spoke to my producers and they're completely fine with me talking about this. It's just that if anyone wants to use it for those purposes, they have to ask me first and I have to get in touch with my producers. But this is also completely different because it's on social media and that's not movie or TV. But again, if a movie or a TV show wanted to like highlight some of this, then they'd have to ask. Another thing is I'm calling it a demonstration doll, not sponsored. It's an American Girl doll that looks just like me. And I am going to be showing you on the doll the different things that she has talked about. If there's something that she hasn't talked about, even though I think she has it, I'm just gonna assume that she doesn't because I want to respect privacy, unless she has specifically said out in the void that she does have it, because some of this stuff people may not feel comfortable talking about. Like for instance, she had said this before, but she has bladder issues and has to use a catheter, and some people may not want that out in the open, but she did, so I'm going to talk about it. With this doll, I'm going to show you like where a scar would be located for her, technically myself as well, and how different things in the body work because of the spina bifida itself. So now we're going to get into the read and react. I want to express that JoJo Siwa and Jessalyn Siwa are narcissists. So the definition of a narcissist, to put it in plain and simple terms, is a narcissist thinks that A, the whole world revolves around them, B, they only think about themselves, and C, they don't care what kind of harm they've caused other people. Until, like Leigha's article, it, gains traction, bigger companies start to notice, or it ends up on the news, etc. So you may be thinking, what is spina bifida? Glad you asked. So spina bifida is a neural tube defect that happens in utero. So it happens while the mom is pregnant with the baby, but it happens during the first 28 days of pregnancy. So it's often before the woman knows that she's pregnant, just as an FYI. There are two types of spina bifida. There's opened and there's closed, which I'll get more into that in a hot sec. Spina bifida can happen with a cause. So like for instance, lack of folic acid or diabetes. And it also can just happen without a cause. I don't know how she got hers, and that's none of my business because, you know, parents sometimes feel ashamed about that kind of stuff. Like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. When in reality, your baby's gonna be, you know, as perfect as it can be. It's just gonna have some complications and look a little different. You may be thinking, what is lipomyelomeningocele? Glad you asked. So lipomyelomeningocele is a type of closed neural tooth defect. So basically it's a fatty mass that attaches to your spinal cord and it is covered by skin. The best way to describe it is adding ground black pepper to a cupcake. It's not supposed to be there. Same thing with the fatty mass. It's not supposed to be there. And I have demonstration dolly here. And I have this orbiter bracelet. Yes, I did go to the Noah Kahan concert, but I'm going to do some demonstrating. So spina bifida can happen anywhere on the spine, regardless of what type you have. And this will pretend it's the mass. Even though it's not covered by skin, we're going to pretend that it is. I'm going to put it right here, but it's, you know, kind of small. It can be small or it could be big, but it's a mass that basically, I'm just going to put this here. We can pretend that this is the mass. Typically, with closed type of spina bifida, it is not detected in utero in most cases. And on top of that, a lot of people don't know that they have it until either they're born or until they're older. It's a grab bag. I know some people with lipomyelomeningocele that had it detected after birth, like right after they were born, and they got surgery. And then others, they didn't find out they had it till later on in life, which was in Leah's case. My case too, because I didn't know I had mine until 2.5 for my parents at that point. But basically what ends up happening is once you find out that you have it, you end up getting surgery, because if you don't get surgery in most cases, it'll give you nerve damage. And the nerve damage, it just depends on where your lesion is. But more often than not, you have damage to your legs as well as your bowel and bladder are the most common. And with closed neural tooth defects, more often than not, you do not have hydrocephalus or Chiari malformation, which is what happens with the open neural tooth spina bifida defects. But basically with the closed neural tooth defects, they treat it like a tether cord, and they will go in there and they will try to remove as much of the mass as they can. If they can't remove the whole thing, and the reason why they may not be able to is because it's sitting too close to nerves, and if they accidentally hit a nerve, parts of her body could be damaged. So they may not be able to get all of it out, but they may try, they may not be able to, or they can try and they can get it all out. So it just depends, because spina bifida is a snowflake condition where no two people experience it the same. Now, this wasn't specified in the article, but Leigha did mention in one of her lives that she did with her mama that JoJo Siwa, when they did Siwa's Dance Pop, there was a scene where Leigha was on stage dancing and stuff, and JoJo Siwa was in the back crying when Leigha got picked. Those weren't tears of joy. She genuinely did not want her there, which to me would have been the first sign that I needed to leave. But the thing is that with spina bifida and any other type of disability, it can be really hard for a disabled person to be able to get these types of opportunities because of their disability. So you have to really pick and choose your own battles at this point. Also, they had mentioned that after filming sometimes they would come back to wherever they were staying and they were given bags with things inside. I remember Leigha saying, not sponsored, that she got a Nintendo Switch. I know another XOMG Pop member had posted, which has since been deleted, but they got candy, stuff of the like. And the thing is that that's what they do to rope you in. And as kids, especially if you're disabled and you don't have good cognitive abilities, you're not going to be able to understand that what they're doing is wrong. But also, they're kids and kids aren't going to understand. But having a cognitive disability makes it even more harder. Leigha doesn't have one of those. Hence why you see so many, fans that still had supported them even though group members were dropping out like flies. So when Leigha first got this opportunity, her parental unit sat down and they talked about whether or not they should or shouldn't do it. And they ultimately decided to do it, which I think was a great choice on their part in that moment. Because as a disabled individual, it can be very hard to get opportunities like this for the sole purpose of being disabled. Or you get mocked like that one girl did on Siwa's Dance Pop that had hypotonia, which I know it's low muscle tone. I know there's probably more to it, but I don't have hypotonia, so I don't feel qualified to talk about that. I'd rather have someone that knows about it talk about it. Leigha had also mentioned that she uses catheters to go to the bathroom. The best way to describe this, so I'm going to grab my demonstration doll here, but I'm not going to pull down her pants or anything like that because I don't want this video to get taken off YouTube. We are going to pretend that this pen is a catheter. And basically what you do is it goes up where your bladder is and you do it while you're on the toilet, and it helps you expel your urine. And why is this done? This is done because there is a lot of nerve damage that goes inside your bladder as a result of the spina bifida, so therefore you have to cath. Now, Leigha said that she has switched to the mitrophanol. And the mitrophanol, this is basically, this I can show you, so I'm gonna pull up this doll's tank top and let's pretend that this is her belly button. So what the doctors would do is, it's a surgery that you go under for, but they take part of your appendix and they will attach it to your stomach and they will make a hole inside your belly button, and that'll be your channel. And you take a catheter, you will put it in there. You do it while you're sitting on the toilet, and then your urine comes out in the toilet. Now, they do this because A, some individuals with spina bifida have fine motor skills issues or weakness or whatever, and they're unable to cath from down below. B, some of these individuals are in wheelchairs and aren't able to cath from below, so it's just easier to cath from the stomach. Also, she could have been having, which I'm pretty sure she said that she did, but a lot of kidney issues and UTIs, and this is one way to kind of prevent that as well. And it's not a cure-all, but it does help. And also, last but not least, let's say the disabled individual is unable to do this themselves, so a parental unit has to help. It's easier for the parent to be able to cath through their belly button versus doing it from down below. Leigha had also said that during a Mall of America performance, when they had the in-ears, but also during other times, that JoJo and Jesselyn were shouting at the girls and being nasty to them and verbally abusive. Y'all may be thinking, that isn't verbal abuse. Yes, it is, because verbal abuse is when they say things that are degrading or are hurtful to somebody else. So for instance, if someone told me that I was a failure and I was never going to make it in this world, that's verbal abuse. Also, Angie was talking about how she was at odds with the Siwas in the article. And the odds could be, I know she had mentioned school, but it also very well could be about disability type things. And for instance, with the whole neurogenic bladder situation that Leigha has, let's say she has a schedule where she has to cath every 2 to 3 hours, because more often than not when you cath you have to go on a schedule, because a lot of us aren't able to feel when we have to go to the bathroom because those nerves are damaged, and therefore by going on a schedule it prevents you from having an accident. Let's say she says to the Siwas hey, my daughter needs to cath every 3 to 4 hours and it only takes about 10 minutes, so she'll be in and out quickly. They say that's not true, because according to this website that I was looking at, it states that she doesn't need to do it at all. And the thing is that with a narcissist, they'll say that, but they really didn't look at the website. Also, under the Americans with Disabilities Act, if you go to your boss or HR or whoever it may be and state that you are disabled and you need reasonable accommodations, they have to provide them. A reasonable accommodation would be, let's say Leigha needs to cath every 3 to 4 hours, like I mentioned earlier. That's reasonable. But let's say she insists notice that she has to wear, not sponsored, her pink pom puff hoodie every single time she's in the studio for the sole purpose is that she likes it. That's an unreasonable accommodation. It's not tied to her disability at all. Number two is there are other things that she can wear that'll keep her warm if she is cold. Leigha had also mentioned once in a live that Jesselyn and JoJo kept the studio very hot because that's the way JoJo was taught, was in a hot studio. And the thing is that she had mentioned this. She didn't explicitly say what type of medicine, but I'm going to out myself. Not sponsored, but I'm on Mirbetriq, and that's a bladder type medicine. And those bladder medicines that you're on, one of the side effects is overheating. So I get overheated very easily. Like, I just had to leave the room right now and turn off the AC because I'm getting overheated. Another thing they could have been at odds about too is her having to go back to Texas to get the care that she needs. Because the CWIS could arguably say, there's a doctor across the street. The thing is that yes, however, I'd like to advise that if you have something other than PPO insurance or Medicare, you cannot use it out of state. So the only exception is if you have to go to the emergency room for something, it all depends on your health insurance. But I know with mine, if I have to go to the emergency room for something while out of state, I would be okay and they would cover it without question. But I can't just go to like a specialist there or anything like that. Also, another thing is I actually just did, one sec. Another thing is that, whoa, okay, here we go. Another thing is that I was at Scottish Rite for Children in May of this year for the Spina Bifida Association's annual clinical care meeting. The thing is that no, I didn't meet Leigha in person. She was in the Dominican while this was happening. And I don't know if she knew or if Angie knew that this was going on. Either way, I have a feeling because she's so popular, because she's a dancer with Spina Bifida that's like making it in the world and stuff, that they probably had asked her to speak, but she turned it down because they were going to the Dominican for her sister's wedding. Also, I understand that her high school graduation happened that weekend as well, so she probably couldn't have made it anyways. And those doctors are really good because I got to meet the doctors that she works with. They are really good. Parents want the best, regardless if their individual is disabled or not. So let's say there's a hospital 10 minutes away that has doctors that are knowledgeable about spina bifida, but all the doctors have bad ratings, and let's say 30 minutes further out there's Scottish Rite and they have phenomenal reviews. Where do you think they're gonna go? Scottish Rite, because they have better reviews. Another thing is that disabled individuals are at a more increased risk of not getting a good quality education, because with spina bifida and other medical conditions, but especially spina bifida, you're in the hospital a lot. With hospitals, they do have programs where they have like teachers that'll either come to your room or they will have you go to a education room that they have in the hospital that's specifically set up like a classroom. The teachers will coordinate with the school that you go to and they will teach you whatever it is that you should be learning at your home school. But the thing is that that's not, a good education, and it's not because of the staff. It's just the way the model is set up. Also, if you're in too much pain or you have to like lay in a certain position, like with a tethered cord release surgery, which is one of the things that individuals with spina bifida get as far as surgery, you have to lay flat on your back for a certain amount of time. And because of that, it can be really hard to lay flat on your back and be able to write with a pencil. I mean, just stuff like that. And therefore, that's why it makes it a lot more difficult. Again, it's not the staff, it's just the model itself. However, Leigha's at an advantage because she was homeschooled, but during XOMG POP, she didn't get the schooling, which basically put her behind, but at least she wasn't severely behind. Another thing is that in their contract, food and transportation would be provided. However, they had to pay out of pocket for all of that. The thing is, even if it wasn't provided in the contract, any decent human being, keyword decent, would pay for that kind of stuff. I know because my dad, when he was alive, he ran his own company and he had to send technicians out to other states to be able to fix the printers that he built for customers that had like problems and stuff like that. It's kind of like bringing your phone to the store to get it fixed. Same thing here, except these technicians come to you. He paid for their lodging and paid for their food. His business didn't nearly make as much as the CEWA's were. Why would they not be able to do it? They were also supposed to get paid for certain things. And also, I know, at least with me and my documentary, I am getting paid royalties. So if a major company picks this up or it gets shown in theaters, I get a percentage of those profits. It is stated in my contract. The same thing, because this is standard what they do, but if you are featured in anything, you get a portion of the profit. They determine how much you get, but she wasn't given that at all. And to this day, they're still using her image. So Jess decides to rent a house. Great, they have somewhere to stay, or so we think. So that house was decked out and it was used as a content house. And basically what they would do is they would shoot promotional stuff in there, which they have done. It was just a gathering place, but they were not allowed to sleep there. What they could have done is if there was a basement, they could have turned the basement into some sort of like living quarters that they could stay at, but no, they didn't do that. And the thing is that that would be way more convenient for everybody, because all they had to do was go upstairs and start filming, instead of having, if they took like a rideshare service, having to wait for that to show up and then fighting through LA traffic just to be able to get to their place. But as we all know, narcissists don't think about other people, they only think about themselves. Also, it got so bad that Leah's mom and Bella's mom, they had to start working for the CEWA's, doing random tasks and getting paid very little. If that's not an indication as to they need to pay their XOMG Pop members more money, I don't know what does. But again, that's a narcissist. They only think about themselves and not other people. Another thing that could have been happening too is because with a narcissist, they'll promise you all these different things only for you to be gut punched in the stomach, figuratively speaking, and they're not able to provide all that stuff. And I have a feeling what happened was the CEWA's were going broke with this group because they were promising them all these different things, but everything ended up costing more money than they thought, because narcissists just dive right into things without thinking. They maybe once had somebody to clean and organize their place, but they couldn't afford it anymore because they were spending money on XOMG Pop and knew that these people were strapped for cash, so they let them work for very little pay because they couldn't afford their person. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened, but it's what could have happened. Now, this part of the article is inaccurate from a Spina Bifida standpoint, but they said that she needed surgery, spinal cord surgery, for a lifelong condition, and days before the surgery, she started bleeding out of her belly button, blah, blah, blah. The thing is that that's not necessarily true. Like, yes, she did bleed out of her belly button, I'm not dismissing that, but the reason why is because of her mitrophanol, and it is not because of her needing a tether cord release surgery, which she still needed, but again, that wasn't, because of it. It was because of mitrophanol. The mitrophanol, which I don't have yet, but that and any other surgery where things get moved around or you have things implanted in you, there are certain things that you can and cannot do with it, and if you do those things, it can lead to complications like Exhibit A. And instead of telling Leigha to go to the hospital to get her mitrophanol looked at, they just told her to eat a maxi pad over it, which I feel like all narcissists should have a maxi pad yeeted over their mouths forever so they can never talk again. So sarcastically speaking, the CEWA's had the right idea, but the wrong body part and the wrong person. It should have been them and all the other narcissists. Another thing is that over Christmas time around there, Leigha had to go for a tether cord release surgery, and that's one of the things that I got done. So I'm going to explain to y'all how it works. So this next part, I did explain a little bit of the surgery in the beginning, so I'm not going to get into that. However, I'm going to explain the aftermath because this is, pun intended, vital for the article, because they talk about it a little bit, but they don't go into full detail, and I think it needs to be done just so people have an understanding of how wrong it was to do this. Basically, what happens is your back is towards the ceiling. We'll throw it at that. And you get a scar afterwards. That's their gift to you, sarcastically speaking. and then they turn you over on your stomach and they wheel you into the PACU, which is a post-anesthesia care unit, and the anesthesiologist will wean you off the anesthesia to wake you up while also monitoring your pain levels to be sure that you're not in any pain. And then they just keep the IV in for the pain med and they take you back to your hospital room. And what happens is you have to lay flat on your back. Rule of thumb is 24 to 48 hours. I know for me it was 48 hours. I was 2.5, and it was the first time ever that I gotten this surgery. And also with advancements in technology nowadays, and maybe shorter than 48, but I don't know. But anyway, flat on your back. And the reason why they do this is because there's a higher chance of cerebral spinal fluid leaking out of your back if you try to move too early. So they just lay you flat on your back, and then what they do is after the 24 to 48 hours, some people it's longer than 48, some people it's shorter. Physical therapy, they have physical therapists that primarily work in the hospital. They're inpatient physical therapists, but they will slowly raise up the bed, and if you can't handle it for whatever reason, they put you back down and they try again later. But ultimately they'll get you up, they will transfer you into a chair and have you try to sit there because that's upright, and then they'll eventually try to get you to walk. And then if you're able to do those things, you'll stay for an additional day or two and then you go home. So let's say, for instance, you get the surgery on a Monday. You'll stay there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then Friday you'll get to go home. And for some people it may be longer, just simply because of how their body has reacted to the surgery in the past or the amount of nerve damage that's happened with this surgery. And you will be sent home with pain medicines, but on top of that, a list of restrictions. And those restrictions are things that you cannot do. So one of them is bending over. So let's say, for instance, I drop my water bottle on the floor and I need to pick it up. I can't do that. I'd have to have somebody else help. And then a couple weeks later, you'll have a follow-up appointment with the same doctor that did your surgery. They're called a neurosurgeon, and they will come in, they will assess you, they will look at you. If they think that you look okay, they will ease some of those restrictions. They may not ease all of them, but they'll ease some. And the thing is with the C was they wanted her to be at 100%, just shy of 4 weeks after her surgery. And you can't do that restriction wise. And for someone with a tethered cord release, it's just not physically possible for them to be 100%. So let's say, for instance, you had trouble sleeping one night and had to go to school the next day. You're not going to be at 100% because you had trouble sleeping that night. Same thing here. And then I guess one time when they were in their content house, they were making slime, and Angie it was the straw that broke the camel's back. She had said something and Leigha got fired over text. That's like having a boyfriend that dumps you over text. Who does that? But again, a narcissist only thinks of themselves. They don't think about other people and their feelings and how it's going to impact them. And the mom in the past had originally spoken out about something and was yeeted on probation and said that she could have an on-set guardian. And an on-set guardian, basically, if you're under the age of 18, then an on-set guardian is someone over the age of 18. Let's say Leah's parental unit couldn't make it on set that day. What they can do is they can sign a document stating that another person over the age of 18 can be her on-set guardian for the day that will technically babysit her and be sure that she's okay. But again, the CWA said no, because narcissists have a black and white approach and they think that everything revolves around them and doesn't realize that there could be a gray area, or hey, I may be doing something wrong. Let me take a step back and think about my actions here. No, they're not going to do that. Even afterward, Leah's face and image and facade was still being used, things that they were selling, and she didn't get a lick of it. That's illegal, because even though, like with my documentary, when it gets released, even though I am no longer working for the company that I'm doing the documentary with, my face and facade and all that is still attached, and therefore I still get paid for it. I have to by law, because it's stated in my contract, and it was stated in hers too, so she needs to get paid. The parental units that were still a part of that group with their girls at the time, they denied that anything was wrong because they were also being afraid of being yeeted out of the group. And some of them are still on good terms with the CWAs. And the thing is that that's completely okay, because most and best we can do is educate people, and what they choose to do with that is up to them. So let's say, for instance, the CWAs say that the sky is green, and I go up and tell someone, hey, the sky is blue, and they say, no, it's green. Why would they say that it's green? Because the CEWAs have power. They say that the sky is green, they're either A, gonna believe them, or B, just gonna say it because they're afraid of getting kicked out of the group if they don't say that the sky is green. Another thing is that their lawyer came out and said some things and said that what happened wasn't true and these allegations were false, yada yada. And the thing is that the CEWAs didn't directly speak, it was the lawyer, because A, they were probably too afraid to speak out because they were probably thinking, oh, something that rhymes with hit. Another thing is that they may have been afraid of screwing up the word, them getting twisted by the media, or just the media plainly speaking what they said and it caused backlash. Or C, I don't know if JoJo had an agent at the time or whatever, and they knew it would look bad for publicity purposes, and therefore they just wanted the lawyer to say everything. Or D, they probably paid the lawyer to say that or threatened him with other things like, hey, if you don't do this or say these words, I'm gonna hit you, or something like that. But any good lawyer would know that they can't do that. And that's my 2 cents on the whole article and stuff of the like, as an individual with spina bifida that is also in the entertainment industry. So if you want me to do a part 2 on what I feel like the CEWAs should do to make things right, feel free to eat something in the comments and I will definitely do a video on that. So I thank you guys so much for watching this video and cannot wait to see you guys again soon. Bye!